thanks for joining us once again. It is a Switch On Network. We bring you up-to-date content, everything that is relevant. And we have been discussing financial fair play. And obviously earlier we were speaking to Ngobile and he was just giving us a bit more insight into exactly what it takes to run a club, to manage a club, whatever the case may be. He gave us the breakdown of exactly how costly it is. And so it's a lot more intricate than most people anticipate. Well, we love to partner with people who are making waves in their various spaces. So Switch On Network and Overthinking Football, make sure you like, subscribe, do the things, comment, and so we can engage and we can interact. And so our voices, we don't think that we are gods in this world. We have our own opinions, but we know that everyone has possibly varying opinions. So we want to engage with everyone. So make sure on the various platforms, Overthinking Football, Switch On Network, engage with us, like, subscribe, do the things that keep us bringing you up to date and current content. Now let's get right into it, guys. We're going to get to the finances issue, but there's some stuff we just need to deal with that happened over the weekend. So I know, I know this is going to get hectic. So let's start abroad. Let's start overseas. Did anyone see? I mean, Nadim, I know you called a PSG win. I myself, I always felt that PSG, after they did to Liverpool what they did to Liverpool, I just felt there's no one that's going to stop this team. But I didn't quite think 5-0 in a final. I mean, who would have anticipated that it would be that one-sided?
No one can anticipate that Inter Milan, the same team that beat Barcelona. Barcelona, remember, they're one of the favorites to lead the Champions League. They're the one who knocked out Barcelona. From there, they go on to win. I mean, lose like 5-0 in a cup final. But you're always it's gonna be like that. Football is a sport of small margins. That's why in a first round, even league matches, it can happen that you win 4-0. In the other second round, then the team can beat 5-0. In football, it's possible. Those things you can easily collapse.
That's why we love it. It's the beautiful game. That's why we
definitely. You can easily collapse. Yeah. So for Inter, when they considered those first two goals, they really collapsed. I mean, they didn't see a way back. If they didn't see the way back, they're getting frustrated. The coach ended up getting a yellow card or something like that. I think sometimes winning, it can become a habit, just like losing. Champions League is very difficult to win. That's why it's always been won by almost the similar people. If you look at the history, it's very difficult where you see a first-time coach winning the UEFA Champions League. It takes a lot. For me, when I said PSG will beat Inter Milan, I base it on the fact that Luis Enrique... You said that, yeah. Yes, he's been there before. Yeah, he's been there. So he knows the stage. He knows how to win it. He knows how to calm the players. Inter Milan, they lost to Man City 2 years ago. Now, they thought it's their chance. But it doesn't work like that. Football doesn't really... Just because you lost it again, now you're going to win. Having that kind, if Luis Enrique was coaching Inter Milan, I was going to go with that Inter Milan were going to win it. But the fact, the coach sometimes in those kind of stages, it's everything. That's why Carlo Ancelotti has won the Champions League more than anyone. He's Mr. Calmness. He's won the record, I mean, 5 times, I think. Yeah. So people, they say he knows how to calm the players. I remember when Man City were leading by 2-0, Real Madrid came on to win that match. They asked him, did you panic? He said, I didn't have time to panic. I was busy focusing on the match. Rodrigo came and scored 2 quick goals in 2 minutes. Yeah. They were asking him, before you put in Rodrigo, were you panicking that you'll lose? He said, no, I didn't have time to panic. I was focusing on the match, reading the game. What do we need to do? So those kind of coaches can make a huge difference. It's not like when you see PSG and Inter Milan, there's a huge gap. But with coaching-wise, there's a huge gap.
I love how the voice even went up there. So on your side, I mean, what did you, first of all, what did you anticipate? Who did you call to win the game?
The reason why I called Inter because I felt as though they'd shown an incredible fighting spirit. That I felt as though Inter was going to go into that game and fight until the 90th minute or beyond. I was so shocked when they get there and it felt like they'd given up. 10 minutes in, you could already feel that this is not going to be their game and they couldn't get it up. And maybe that's when you say that teams like PSG, you finally met a real team, like a real proper team. The guys that they've played before maybe weren't as strong or couldn't withhold. Or you could even say that it's a final. You know, sometimes when you get to a final, guys, hey, it's a final. The whole feeling of it, everything that's there, it hits you, the emotion. And again, maybe that's where Luis Enrique comes in, where he goes, you know what, guys, I've been here. I've done this. I know what this feels like. I know how to plan for this. Whereas maybe Inter Milan shocked themselves to get there, and sometimes you freeze and 5-0.
Yeah, no one. I mean, 5-0. I honestly, I expected PSG to win, but no one, I think, could have said, there's no one that bet 5-0. I don't think there's anyone in the world that could have thought. Because one thing about Inter, even when it was 2-0, in my mind, I was telling myself, this is Inter that they don't know when they are beaten, this team. They keep fighting. And that's what we saw, that fighting spirit against Barcelona to get to the final. But instead of saying Inter capitulated, I'd love to say that they just did not have an answer. This is probably the best team I've seen since Pep Guardiola's Barcelona.
But I don't think this Champions League was won by the best team. I don't think PSG have been the best team.
Who's been the best team then?
So for me, they are among the best.
Okay.
If you look at Barcelona, for me, they are the best team. Because PSG...
They were.
Yeah, where PSG? PSG, there was a time where we were not sure if PSG will qualify to the next stage. You remember? During the group stages.
Okay.
Yeah. There was a time where they were not sure. They needed to win the next 3 matches and all those kind of things. So I can't say. Maybe in the knockout stages.
I know the knockouts.
In the knockout stages, you can say. But for me, why I don't want to say PSG were the best team. Against Aston Villa, they lost in England, right? And Aston Villa missed 2 clear-cut chances where they were going to knock out PSG. So it's been small margins. They just, the first half...
It's Champions League. It's supposed to be small margins.
It's not like his team always win.
Yeah, it's supposed to be small margins. But for me, what made PSG special is when I watched the game against Liverpool. What's the...
Kvaratskhelia.
Yeah,
that one.
Against Liverpool, there was... Do you remember his goal line clearance? For me, he's one of the stars of the team. I think he's the best player in the team. Everyone can call Doué and Dembele and one. For me, Kvaratskhelia, he's the best player in the team. I like him. His goal line clearance against Liverpool just said to me that this team has no stars. This team is a collective. Everyone, including Dembele, everyone that's supposed to be a superstar in this team is working for the collective. And when I saw that, the way they did against Liverpool, I said, this team is, any coach who can do that, that team is unstoppable.
Is this the Kylian Mbappe effect? That
you see,
the moment he leaves,
that was my biggest worry.
And he lands elsewhere.
That was exactly. So I feel from this thing, I feel for Mbappe. Yeah. Because I love Mbappe. I think I still feel he's the best player in the world. Yeah. Honestly. I think he's hands down the best player in the world. But this now is going to cast a bad light on him because Mbappe had to leave for them to win the Champions League. But it's literally about that. It's not about one superstar. There's stars in this team, but no one stands head and shoulders above the next, and they all work for one another. And that's what made this team, for me, unstoppable.
No, they are unstoppable, but I just feel like, for me, it's been more about the coach. I give credit to Luis.
No, you have to.
Yeah, because there have been times where PSG had quality players, world-class players. Sure. Sergio Ramos, Messi, Neymar, and all of them. They couldn't even go to the final. Yeah. But now with the guy, I mean, I think he just outsmarted Samuel Inzaghi in the final. Inter Milan had a chance, equal chance ahead of the game. But during the game, second half or end of the game, it looks like it wasn't. How did this team reach the final? In football, it can work like that because there's no time for you to say when a team is leading 2-0, then you're going to defend. Defend for what? You need to try and counter-attack. The more you attack, the more they come and score. The more you try to open chances, they expose you. So it's one of those matches. Even if it could be a rematch tomorrow, no one can say it's going to be 5-0. It could be different.
Mara, can we stick on the coaching point? Inter Milan, you see that these guys are tearing you apart the same way, in the same way, in the same way, in the same way. Can we look at Inzaghi and say, Mara, change something, back forward, do something?
My thing is with that.
That's an interesting one because intensity, Zidane always talk about sometimes how you lose a match or win a match. If you start with a high intensity, it works. Yeah. You can win a match. Sometimes you can just lose a match, not because they're a bad team, because the other team started with a high intensity. Recovery, sometimes
you can't react,
by that time it's 2-0 down. How are you going to recover?
No, but at least like
what do you in that, speaking about that, so what do they then do? Do they play route one now? The thing is, what got them there? They kept trying to do what got them there. Yeah. And
Mara, adapt. I think what was irritating me about Inter is you're playing a back three. You're seeing that DeMarco versus Dembele is just he's tearing him up. You don't have.
It wasn't even Dembele's job was Sommer.
But did you see how whenever they'd go forward, there was 2 times when Sommer had the ball. Obviously, Dembele was the first one to press, but then also you've got your back three. You give them the ball. There's nobody who's coming back. You know what it reminded me of? When Steve Kompela took over Golden Arrows. And he was trying to play out from the back. Remember, there was those 3-4 games where they got killed.
Even at Swallows.
Even at Swallows.
Yeah.
And it's like, you keep trying to do that and you're seeing that it's not working. At what point do you go, okay, guys, it's getting embarrassing.
Route 1.
Let's go back, even just back 4. Let's go back 4. Because even up front, Thuram, Martinez, I don't know what was happening there. One is dropping back in, the other one is up there. You're not playing balls to him.
No, they were not allowed. They were not allowed to stick to their game plan.
Yeah.
So that's why I always give the credit to Luis and Rick.
Yeah.
They were not allowed to say.
But that game plan also, like I said, they're in a back three. You're getting pressed. They were trying to play this little ball over into the middle, and they kept losing the ball every single time. At what point, guys, as a coach, do you sit down and go, it's not working? We're in a Champions League final. Maybe I need to put aside my ego. I need to put aside what has got us here, and we need to try something different. Here.
What's something different you think they would have tried?
I would have gone back 4. Maybe take out Thuram. There was a space on the right-hand side that they never played. There were runs being made there, and
I'll say this to you. I'll say this to you.
Yeah.
Watching the game, what position was Hakimi playing? What position
exactly.
was... Yeah.
It seemed like in the middle, up front.
This PSG team, like, it's so synchronized.
Yeah.
When Hakimi goes, there was times Hakimi was pressing on the left wing, and he's the right back.
Yeah.
There was no... I'm telling you, doesn't matter what Inter did on the day.
Yeah.
But did you
even
see...
if the coach adjusted back 4, back 5...
Just not
but what I'm saying is, but did you see that there was a point where Inter Milan got some joy?
No,
from
it's
the
football.
right,
It's
from the
football.
right, balls in.
No.
Keep doing those type of things. My worry was this. It's back three. My biggest worry was the back three. It's back three. You're playing 1v1. It almost feels like you're playing all your defenders versus all of the attackers. You're not going to do that versus PSG.
Now, the thing is, football, you'll never dominate for 90.
Yeah.
And so they had their small moments where, but holistically, they had no chance. They had absolutely no chance. That was just the perfect performance from PSG. That's my opinion.
Yeah, it's one of those matches where whatever they do, it was only going to make maybe the score 2-0 or 3-0.
They didn't even try.
Not that they will come back.
No, not to win. Yeah,
it's always going to be one.
No, it was about winning. Remember?
No, I'm saying not to win. I was just like, hey guys, you're getting punched right now. You're getting beaten.
Yeah.
Let's move on. What is financial fair play even a consideration? Is it something that we can even talk about?
I think we can consider, but it was an interesting interview, the one we did with Nobile, because what makes me think, for DSTV, each team get 2.5 million after tax, which is around 2 million.
Yeah.
Which is 24 million per annum.
Per annum.
And then if you look at the salary of PSL players, he said Nobile is between 35 to 70,000. So I think they need to calculate those kind of things, just like they do in the MLS where you played. So I think, I'm not saying there are rules among it. So how I think it can work in South African football, be within the spend limit, the salary average. Let's say each team is required to have 30 or 25 players. And then look at the expenses. Be realistic with the expenses, hiring of stadiums, and all those kind of things that are involved. Then I have a cap that if you are running a soccer team in South Africa, if you can't spend more than what you make, you cannot exceed this kind of money. Just like in the NBA, they use it. It's called a luxury tax.
Luxury tax.
So you cannot spend to a certain point. Golden State Warriors, they can have superstars, they can pay a lot, but they cannot spend to a certain, you can get fined. So in football, it can't be a free fall. You need to find, there must be some mechanism of restricting it. Because one day we're going to have a PSL team buying a player from Manchester United, that they will offer him that kind of, that player, they're putting a 10 million off. What are you going to do? Which is like so much. Then they say that player will, just like the Bafana coach, this is what already happened in the national team, where Bafana coach gets paid over 1 million a month. The under 20 coach doesn't even get more than 31,000 a month. we're living in that reality now where the gap will be too much. Do we say Hugo Prince is doing a good job? Yes. But is that how much of a gap between him and Roman Draga? No.
My question is, like, we obviously, this is centered around, from a local perspective, in a South African space. Financial fair play, and anytime we speak, we should find financial parity. It's centered around Sundowns. Are we not being unfair to Sundowns? Because Sundowns have set the standard. Yes. Is it not everyone else's job to catch up and say, okay, this is what Sundowns are doing if we're going to get close to them? Because at the end of the day, they are allowed to spend that money, and so they do. Is it not everyone else's job to catch up?
100%. Sundowns is doing exactly what they're meant to be doing. If you can find, even if you think of Sundowns as being like an evil team that buys players, yes, why must they do everybody a favor and not do those things? So for me, you look at the league, sometimes we speak about our league and we speak like they're all paupers. You know, like we speak about them like they're poor. You know, SuperSport United is owned by MultiChoice.
But they're no longer investing.
Well, yeah, they're no longer investing, but at some point, MultiChoice could have decided that today we're changing South African football. Remgro, Stellenbosch. You know what I mean? We know
at some point Bidvest, because Bidvest, when Brian Joffrey said there's 70 million, they won the league.
So it's possible, but do you have the will to want to go and do it? And I think that is the question that I have to the different teams in the league. Do you guys want to go through the process that Ntate Motsepe went through in order to create this Sundowns? Are you willing to put down money like that over and over and over again? I mean, Johan Rupert
the answer is an emphatic no.
Exactly.
So for me, I think they are willing, guys. Let us be honest and be realistic. Look at what happened. Al has been dominating African football. Now they are just get dethroned by a team that is owned by people from Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
The team that was almost close competing with Al was weighted. What happened to the weighted owner in 2023? Was arrested for drugs because it was a drug deal. Even now, as we speak, he's in jail because of drugs. Let us not make football. Let's make football be within the means of the stakeholders, even the sponsors. Don't go to sponsors and ask money that you know that it's hard to reach, because if Sundowns sells for 63 million, and then you expect a sponsor to almost come near to bridge the gap with Sundowns. Once there's restrictions that no team in South African football is allowed to spend, if you go on transfer fees, maybe more than, let's say, 60 million. The total whole player, we know Kaizer Chiefs get 100 million from Vodacom. We know Pirates get 100 million from Vodacom. We also know that they spend more money on the stadiums, hiring, expenses, flights, and all those kind of things. You need to have a certain level of markup that you cannot reach this.
So Nadim, in essence, you're saying we must stop Sundowns from spending so that everyone can catch up to them.
I think so, because
and that's how's that fair though?
It's fair because we are trying to understand where now people get money from illegal things, just like it happened in Morocco, where the owners of Whitehead was selling drugs to run the team. It's even as we speak, is arrested because of that. No, you're trying to avoid that.
Wait.
No, you're trying to avoid corruption where people, they steal money from the government and pour it in the team. We are trying to make basically financial fair play.
So you're saying if Sundowns continue in there, we're inviting corruption. That's ultimately what you're saying.
Definitely.
How so? You mean
a good example I gave you with Whitehead. The Whitehead.
No, that's one example. You can't base.
It's many examples. Across Africa.
Yeah.
That's why if you look at like a team like Tipi Mazembe. Tipi Mazembe was dominating when Moise Katumbi was hands-on with the team. Then one happened when he went to then they slacked down. Let's not make football like reliant to one family. To improve the system, if Mtsipe's family decide, I'm running for a president, of which that's what we are reading on the Sunday newspapers, then it says I'm moving football. Where will Sundowns be? Let's encourage sustainability.
I think
teams like Real Madrid and Barcelona, it doesn't matter who's there tomorrow. They will be at the same level because they don't spend more than what they make.
No, but that's where you go back to the spirit of financial fair play. The spirit of financial fair play was not to stop the big teams. It was to make sure that everybody can run sustainably. Yes. So that if you have a situation where Bidvest pulls out of Vids can run on its own.
Not be sold immediately.
So that's the spirit of financial fair play. My issue is that we're taking away the team's responsibility to be commercially viable.
Yeah.
if I go to a sponsor, I need to tell them, guys, this is why you're sponsoring my team. How many teams can give you that? You look at the Sundowns. I always joke, let's let financial fair play out the way people say. And you close Motsepe's taps and you close everybody's taps. Sundowns is probably at a better situation to go and get more sponsors, because you look at them and you say 15-time league champions in the PSL era, they play on Africa, they do all of that stuff. Tomorrow, Sundowns will be up. But those teams that are then losing the money, let's say an Amazulu loses the money that Ntate Zungu's putting in, right? You've also closed the tap for him too.
Yeah.
Can Amazulu then go to a sponsor?
Are they commercially attractive?
Are they commercially attractive? So I feel as though we're doing all of these things and we're speaking like this, but at the end of the day, it's up to the teams to go and figure out what they need to do.
Yeah.
How do I get a fan base? How do I get sponsorship? How do I sell a jersey?
Okay.
How do I do all of those things?
I think it's practiced globally all over the world, because they're trying to stop the winner to be the team that spend the most money. That's why Man City at the moment, they can still be relegated and be rigged too, because of not obeying the financial. I think it's needed, guys. We cannot say, if you have money, just spend what you have. The other team, let them try and catch up somehow and find a way. I think that is not fair, because in all sports, in all professional sports,
so
in all professional sports, not football, basketball, baseball, rugby, there is some certain financial restrictions.
Those are closed leagues.
No, but I'm just saying, it's not closed leagues. The Premier League is not a closed league.
No, I'm saying, the Premier League is
not the trouble. La Liga is not a closed league.
No, but they're having problems
Italy,
with financial fair play.
You don't like what you saw in Italy, where Napoli and Inter, the league was decided in the last 10 minutes.
Yeah.
It was, that's what you need.
You're speaking about something different though.
Yeah.
We want PSL to be competitive, where the game is decided on the last day.
It's not going to be it's too never be like that when another team, they have a budget of 500 million.
But
then
now,
the other team
financial fair play, like you said, financial fair play was about making clubs sustainable, self-sufficient, basically.
Yeah. Don't spend more than you make.
Don't spend more than you make. Where does that leave most? Like, I take George's point. Where does that leave most of the league? Because what are they making? Who's making anywhere close to a profit?
And most of the league
is Pirates and Chiefs. Pirates and Chiefs are making a profit.
But Pirates and Chiefs are also not spending. But Pirates and Chiefs have not used any of that dominance. I think for me, what I'm looking for is not to say, don't fight Sundowns, fine, forget about Sundowns. But can you be a consistent number 2? Can you be somebody who can come and be close to Sundowns? Because, Sundowns makes what? Let's say, in a perfect world, they make 10 signings. That means there's 20 other players that are available that maybe a secondary team or third team should be able to go, okay, guys, we've got a plan. We're bringing them in. We're going to compete.
But even those 10 signings that Sundowns is making, why are you not competing for those players? Because when we look at it, I honestly, if at the end of the day, I always go back to Sipho Mbule. And we know the issues he's at. But I think, I'm talking about SuperSport. Sipho Mbule was one of the best players in the country. He was my favorite player in the country at the time. I think world-class player. Why? It didn't seem like anyone else was really in the race. Even though people said, no, we would like to have him, but was anyone else in the race? One of the best players in the country, Zbu Vilakazi, General. I played with him at Wits. Was anyone else in the race? Once Sundowns entered the race, he was PSL Football of the Season. Hottest property in the league. Was anyone else in the race to sign him?
Mark, can I take it a step further? You've got these players. If Sundowns is such a big problem, no one's holding a gun to your head to sell these players to Sundowns. Is it not Sundowns then became an easier way for me to get some money easy? They come and knock, I give them. I don't have to go to the MLS or to go to England or to go to Portugal and say, here's a player, we got a market. Now there's somebody who's coming to my door and knocking. So not only are they not competing, but the moment it's almost like the teams go, oh, thank goodness that the Motsepe is here at my door. Here's the player, go with it. That's my issue. It feels like this is a fan problem. If we're being 100% honest.
The way I see it, I feel that why it's needed in South African football is not the gap to be too much. Because if a team like the richest owners in England are Newcastle owners, if Newcastle were going to spend, they can buy any player from any team. They can buy the best player from Arsenal, Man City and everyone, because those guys are from the Saudi Arabia Investment Fund, the one who owns Newcastle.
PIF.
It can't work in any sports. Immediately do that, it becomes unfair to all the other teams. Because you need to be almost at the same level. Even the finances, the salary must always be within.
With that, it's a decision for them not to spend and go crazy.
It's not a decision. The rules doesn't allow them in England.
No,
in England, you cannot spend more than you make.
No, but what's new?
Because in South Africa, are you going to say it's fair if the league, to win the league title is 20 million or 25 million?
Yeah.
How much? 20 million?
Yeah.
And then you're buying one player for 60 million. Guys, come on.
No,
Where have you seen that?
Newcastle,
Where have you seen in any sports?
Newcastle is complaining right now. The owners have been complaining that now we've got the money and we'd love to make Newcastle a Man City. We'd love to make Newcastle a Manchester United, but now you've tied my hands.
Sure.
And those guys stay those guys.
Because their revenues
are higher because what's the
not
fight?
fair.
What's the fight they're
It's
having
still
now?
not fair.
They're having the fight about PSR. Remember the fight about
No,
the PSR
they're
rules?
trying to avoid.
No.
They're trying to avoid
Yeah.
where one day you'll have one player being bought for 1 billion
No,
euro,
but remember-
1 billion euros. Because in South
Yeah.
Africa, we'll have a player who's gonna buy players if someone can go to Pirates.
but
if someone can go to Pirates and
remember-
buy him for 100 million.
But remember the fight that they're having right now with Man City. Man City's going. Now they've realized that the big teams can attract bigger sponsors, can do bigger things. Now they have to look at the sponsorships and say, hey guys, how do we measure those things? It doesn't go away.
This is going to be a raging debate, guys. I don't think we haven't made any ground. So we haven't come to a consensus here because is there really a solution? Because ultimately, I don't think even fair play, financial fair play in those spaces are really fair because ultimately the big brands are going to sell more. They have a bigger budget. We'll be here all day, Nadim.
But
I'm not going to come to a
I think there
resolution.
must be certain rules.
Restrictions.
Some certain restriction, like in any professional environment.
But now we're restricting only one person.
No, you're not restricting everyone. You just put it across the board. You can't spend every year. You can't spend more than 100 million on signings, including your salaries.
In closing, is financial fair play a realistic solution?
Not in our league, not where our league currently is. The moment everybody can be sustainable on their own, then you can start having this. But if Tatemotsepe is putting his money into Sundowns, same as Bab Jomo Piela is putting his money into Richards Bay, if you close the tap for the owners, you're going to kill way more teams than you're going to save.
And I think the players are going to suffer ultimately. And I feel that's the worst thing that could happen from that. Don't you think players are going to suffer?
They're already suffering. Royal Aim not paying players. Morocco Swallows not paying players.
So how much worse?
They're already
is it gonna
suffering.
get? So it's just going to get worse.
No. Restricting it is going to make it governed at least a bit better. And it's going to bring a certain control where you know who has how much, what is the budget.
I don't think we are ready for that. I don't think we are ready.
No.
People have to disclose.
No. It is
I'm just saying.
The PSL is the best league in Africa. It's the most professional league in the world. We are saying in Africa because it compares itself to the global leagues.
Yeah.
So if you are the best league in Africa, surely the practice that is implemented across the board, you cannot pick and choose. That one, it's a priority in every league. There's no league in the world, in the top 30 leagues, that doesn't have financial fair play. So we need it.
Again, that's Nadim's, literally, that's his decision.
What's your take? Do you think we need it?
I don't think there's fairness on any level. I don't think it can be fair on any level. So I don't know what the solution is.
So you think we don't need it?
I don't think we need it. I don't think it's going to help. Ultimately, if the players are going to suffer, then I don't want it. That's my heart is always for the players. And I feel the players would suffer. That's where we're going to leave it for now. It's a raging debate. So obviously your thoughts on this matter are important as well. We'd love to interact with you. We'd love to know what you think as the listeners, as the viewers. Is financial fair play a reality? Is it a possibility in South Africa? Thank you to our contributors, George. You've been an absolute superstar. Nadim, once again, thank you. And obviously, Ngobile, we really appreciate your contribution. Remember, make sure you tune in. Make sure you interact with us on our different platforms. Like, comment, subscribe. That's where we leave it. We'll see you on the next one.